Introduction. Hey, Stoic warrior, in a world constantly pulling you in 1,000 directions, it's easy to feel scattered, overwhelmed, and disconnected from your own power. Our minds are noisy, filled with racing thoughts, endless chatter, and distractions disguised as progress. Quick opinions are mistaken for wisdom, and impulsive reactions are celebrated as strength. But the Stoics knew better. True strength doesn't come from doing more, it comes from doing better. It's not about raising your voice, it's about knowing when to stay silent. It's not about thinking endlessly, it's about guiding your thoughts with purpose. In this video, you'll discover how Stoic philosophy for men can help you regain focus, strengthen your mind, and act with intention. You'll learn how to control what's in your power, master your inner voice, and build a presence that speaks louder than words, even in silence. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by life's noise, this could be your turning point. Stick with me, because when you think less, talk less, and focus more, you stop being controlled by the world and start owning it. Lesson 1. Thoughts aren't facts. Your mind produces thousands of thoughts every day, but not every thought is a fact. A single negative thought can ruin your day if you let it. I'm not good enough, I'll fail, or nothing ever changes can creep in quietly, whispering lies that feel like truths. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Epictetus said, "It's not the events that disturb us, but the judgments we make about them." Every time you believe a passing thought as reality, you hand over your power. But the moment you create distance between yourself and the thought, you reclaim control. Imagine sitting at a train station with thoughts rolling by like trains. Some carry regret, some anger, some fear. But you don't have to board any of them. Watch them pass. Recognize them without reacting. I remember a colleague, a respected team leader, who spent years waking up to a knot in his stomach, convinced his thoughts were verdicts. When he learned from Marcus Aurelius to say, "I am having the thought that I'm failing," a small shift occurred. That thought became a cloud, a passing image, not his identity. With consistent practice, observing thoughts without feeding them becomes a daily Stoic tool, a pathway to clarity, calm, and unshakable inner strength. Lesson 2. The power of saying less. In a world obsessed with noise, talking less is an act of power. The stronger your mind, the less it needs to justify itself. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that a calm, disciplined soul carries more weight than one constantly seeking validation through words. Some silences make people uncomfortable, while others command respect. Saying less isn't about fear or submission. It's a deliberate choice to conserve your energy, focus on what matters, and avoid unnecessary conflicts. Each word spoken should carry purpose, not be a reaction to your ego or the chaos around you. I remember a man in an office who rarely spoke, yet everyone respected him. He didn't argue or explain himself. He only spoke when he had something meaningful to say. When he did, his words hit with precision, clarity, and weight. The Stoics viewed this as mastery. Silence allows you to think before responding, to observe before acting, and to avoid scattering your energy on trivialities. Every time you speak without thought, you risk wasting influence. By intentionally saying less, you sharpen your presence, control your emotions, and allow your actions to speak louder than words ever could. Lesson 3. Control what you can control. Life throws curveballs often all at once. Plans collapse, people disappoint, and setbacks hit hard. The Stoics teach us a simple but powerful truth. You can't control external events, but you can control your response. Epictetus called this the distinction between what is within your control and what isn't. Most people waste energy on frustration, blame, or regret. But the man who understands this focuses on his choices, actions, and mindset, his internal domain. Real power lies in harnessing what you can move, even when everything else feels chaotic. I once spoke with a man who lost his business after 20 years. At first, he was consumed by anger and hopelessness, overwhelmed by forces beyond his control. Then he started making two lists, one for what he could control and one for what he couldn't. He poured energy into his routine, discipline, and rebuilding strategies. Slowly, he regained not only his business, but also inner peace. Like a ship's captain navigating a storm, you cannot command the waves, but you can steer your rudder. This Stoic principle teaches that clarity, focus, and deliberate action are far more valuable than wishing life were different. They are what keep a man steady when everything else falls apart. Lesson 4. Focus on what makes you grow. Many men get trapped replaying past conversations, mistakes, or hurts. Your mind is like fertile soil. It will grow whatever you plant. If you sow pain, resentment, or regret, don't expect peace or clarity. The Stoics taught that it's not what happens that matters. It's where you place your attention. Focusing on growth isn't about ignoring past wounds or pretending everything is fine. It's about intentionally redirecting your thoughts to what builds strength, wisdom, and resilience. Every time your mind drifts back to what doesn't serve you, you practice redirecting it to the present moment, strengthening your mental discipline. Consider someone haunted by a failure at work. Instead of dwelling on that mistake, he chooses to focus on the skills he can improve today. Reading, training, or building a project becomes a form of mental cultivation. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the soul grows by focusing on what is essential and present. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but today. Redirecting attention repeatedly is like flexing an invisible muscle called self-discipline. The more you practice, the sharper it becomes, transforming scattered energy into purposeful action and turning setbacks into lessons rather than chains that hold you down. Lesson 5. Accept what is. Pain and struggle are part of life, but much of our suffering comes from resisting reality. Most men don't break under pressure. They break under the fight against it. The Stoics remind us that acceptance is not passive resignation. It's recognizing what is, letting go of what cannot be changed, and reclaiming your energy for what you can control. Acceptance is the soil from which resilience grows. By acknowledging reality without complaint, you create the clarity and strength necessary to act effectively. I once heard from a man who spent decades seeking his father's approval. Only after his father passed away did he realize how much of his life had been spent chasing someone else's validation. Reading Epictetus, he discovered freedom comes from accepting reality and honoring himself instead of living in another's shadow. Acceptance allows you to move forward with purpose instead of being paralyzed by regret or longing. It doesn't erase pain, but it transforms it into insight, discipline, and a stronger sense of self. A man who masters acceptance stops asking, "Why me?" and starts asking, "What can I do now?" Lesson 6. Embrace silence for clarity. In a world full of noise, true clarity comes from embracing silence. The Stoics recognize that without moments of quiet, your mind becomes cluttered, distracted, and reactive. Silence is not emptiness. It is a shelter. It allows you to listen to your inner voice, understand your priorities, and connect with your true self. Without it, every decision, thought, or reaction risks being influenced by external chaos. A man who cultivates silence can think clearly, act deliberately, and avoid being swept along by the currents of distraction. One man shared how he once crammed his schedule to avoid any downtime. Even 10 minutes of silence felt unbearable. But in a rare moment of stillness, he faced emotions he had long ignored, and for the first time, he understood what he truly wanted from life. Now, his mornings begin with quiet reflection, giving him clarity no noise or advice could provide. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, valued silence as a tool for wisdom, a way to separate signal from noise. By intentionally stepping into quiet, you create mental space to make better decisions, recognize distractions, and discover the answers that only your own mind can give. Lesson 7. Talk less, think more. Most men get into trouble not for what they don't say, but for what they say without thinking. Words spoken in anger, impatience, or haste often create more problems than the events themselves. The Stoics emphasize that the mind must govern speech. Every word you speak is like a blade. Untrained, it can cut yourself and others. Trained, it becomes a tool of precision. Pausing before responding isn't weakness, it's mastery. It allows you to shape your words carefully, speak with intention, and preserve energy for what truly matters. Consider a man who had a family argument escalate because of weeks of unspoken tension. His outburst was a release, but it left him hollow, knowing the words weren't truly his. By practicing the Stoic pause, waiting just a few seconds before responding, he learned to speak from clarity instead of impulse. Epictetus taught that events do not disturb us. Our interpretations do. By mastering the gap between trigger and response, you gain control over your energy, your relationships, and your inner peace. Speaking less allows your words to carry more weight, turning each statement into a deliberate act of influence rather than a reaction to chaos. Lesson 8. Train your inner voice. Your inner dialogue shapes your reality. If your thoughts are harsh, doubting, or fearful, your life will reflect that chaos. The Stoics understood that strength comes from cultivating an internal voice of guidance, reason, and calm. This doesn't mean ignoring challenges. It means speaking to yourself as a coach, not a critic. Self-talk must be intentional, disciplined, and focused on solutions rather than fear. Every time you intervene in your thoughts, you practice mastery over yourself, building resilience and clarity that the world cannot take away. An example: a man struggling with confidence in his career would constantly tell himself, "I'm not enough. I'll fail." By adopting a Stoic approach, he reframed these thoughts. "I am capable of effort. I control my actions. Failure is a lesson, not a verdict." This shift didn't magically solve all his problems, but it changed his behavior. He became proactive, resilient, and calmer under pressure. Training your inner voice is daily work, correcting assumptions, rejecting useless fears, and reinforcing your values. The Stoics knew that a mind trained in this way is unshakable, no matter what external storms rage. Lesson 9. Prepare for adversity. Life will test you. The Stoics didn't preach avoidance, they preached preparation. Marcus Aurelius advised contemplating potential setbacks before they occur, imagining challenges so that when they appear, you meet them with calm and clarity. This isn't pessimism, it's strategic readiness. By foreseeing adversity, you lessen its power to surprise or overwhelm you. You enter difficulty with composure, and instead of reacting chaotically, you respond deliberately. Preparation builds inner armor, not arrogance. Take the story of a man facing a sudden layoff after years of stability. Initially, he panicked, feeling powerless. By practicing Stoic premeditation, he visualized worst-case scenarios, assessed what he could control, and created a concrete plan, updating his skills, networking, and managing finances carefully. When the layoff happened, the shock was still present, but his mind was steady. He acted decisively, not emotionally. Preparing for adversity doesn't eliminate struggle, but it transforms how you experience it, turning potential disasters into manageable challenges and teaching resilience, foresight, and grounded action. Lesson 10. Live according to nature. The Stoics believed that living in harmony with nature, both external and human nature, was the path to inner peace. This means accepting life as it unfolds, understanding your role in the world, and acting with virtue and reason. It's not about passivity, it's about alignment. When you resist the natural flow of events or your own nature, you create inner friction, frustration, and chaos. But when you act in accordance with reason, integrity, and purpose, life becomes smoother and your choices become wiser. For instance, a man striving to excel in his career may obsess over outcomes and external validation. By observing the Stoic principle of living according to nature, he shifts focus to what he can control: his effort, ethics, and dedication. Whether the promotion comes or not, he knows he has acted rightly and fully. Marcus Aurelius often reflected that people and events exist as they must. Struggle comes when we fight reality. Accepting this doesn't mean giving up. It means working with life's currents instead of against them. Living according to nature transforms anxiety into focus, distraction into clarity, and stress into actionable energy. Lesson 11. Build resilience through discomfort. Resilience isn't built in comfort. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort to strengthen the mind, body, and character. Cold showers, fasting, waking early, or facing social challenges aren't just rituals. They're exercises in mastering impulses, tolerating hardship, and remaining steady under pressure. When you train to endure minor difficulties, you prepare yourself for major ones. You learn to stay calm, focused, and resourceful when life pushes back, and this strengthens your sense of self beyond external circumstances. Consider a man training for a marathon. Each early morning run, each moment of soreness and fatigue teaches him that he can push through resistance and maintain focus. This Stoic approach applies to life as well. By deliberately embracing discomfort, whether in physical challenges, emotional restraint, or professional hurdles, you expand your capacity to endure, adapt, and thrive. Discomfort becomes a teacher, a guide, and a tool, shaping character, sharpening judgment, and building the inner fortitude that turns setbacks into opportunities for growth and mastery. Lesson 12. Leave a lasting legacy through actions. The final Stoic lesson is about living with purpose so that your actions leave a meaningful mark. True legacy isn't about fame or recognition. It's about the impact of your deeds, the values you embody, and the way you influence others quietly yet profoundly. Every action, no matter how small, compounds over time. By choosing integrity, courage, and wisdom consistently, you create ripples that extend far beyond your immediate presence. A life well lived according to Stoic principles naturally leaves a legacy of strength, discipline, and clarity. An example, a man mentoring his team doesn't just complete tasks, he imparts patience, calm, and thoughtful leadership. Years later, the habits, resilience, and wisdom he instilled continued to shape the lives of those around him. The Stoics urge that our time is limited and the world will continue after us. Your responsibility is not to be remembered, but to act rightly, live virtuously, and influence positively. By focusing on the quality of your actions rather than the approval of others, you cultivate a life that matters, a presence that inspires, and a legacy that endures long after the noise of daily life fades. Conclusion: the quiet power. Within real strength isn't measured by how loud you are, how fast you move, or how many battles you win on the outside. It's forged quietly, in the moments you choose to think before you act, when you decide to focus on what truly matters, and when you control your inner world instead of surrendering it to chaos. Every lesson we've explored, thoughts aren't facts, the power of silence, controlling what you can, focusing on growth, acceptance, clarity, measured speech, discipline, humility, living according to nature, embracing discomfort, and leaving a legacy, builds the same foundation, a mind steady, a character resilient, and a presence unshakable. The Stoics remind us that your life is shaped not by luck, circumstances, or other people, but by the choices you make each day. You can't stop the waves, but you can master the rudder. You can't control every thought, but you can decide which ones guide your actions. You can't rewrite the past, but you can choose how it informs your present. This is the quiet power of a Stoic life. It's in the pauses, the discipline, the deliberate focus, and the courage to act rightly, even when it's uncomfortable. So start today. Don't wait for perfect conditions, external validation, or the world to change. Step into your thoughts, master your words, focus your energy, embrace the discomfort, and live intentionally. Each small, consistent action compounds into a life of strength, clarity, and purpose. This is not theory, it's a practice you build every day. And remember, you are not alone in this journey. Sculpted grace is here to guide, remind, and inspire you to reclaim your power, sharpen your mind, and live the life you were meant to lead. Think less, speak less, focus more, live fully, and let the quiet strength you cultivate today shape the legacy you leave tomorrow.